what's up? Welcome back to Fish Hex. Today is the first video in our beginner guide series to saltwater aquariums. I wanted to do a mini series to basically put as much information in the shortest period of time to benefit those who are starting out in the hobby. So let's get into it. So let's start off with the type of aquariums that are out there. We have a fish only aquarium, a fish only with live rock aquarium, and then we have a reef tank. Now there are subcategories underneath the reef tank category, such as Softy tank, LPS tank, SPS tank, and a mixed tank. So let's go into the first type. So we have a fish only. A fish only tank would be something like, if you ever seen that show Tanked, where they always build all the reef tanks like in the car for all the celebrities and all that stuff. Now that is a fish only tank. They have ornaments, decorations that are not real, that don't benefit in biological filtration, and then they use something like a trickle filter and a sump to filter the tank to basically provide the biological filtration for all the fish. Now for a fish only tank, you can have pretty much whatever type of fish you want as long as they get along with each other. You don't have to worry about the type of fish eating coral because there is no coral. So again, the only thing you have to worry about really in a fish only is the type of fish that you have together. The temperature should be between 77 degrees and 80 degrees. I like to keep all my tanks at around 79 degrees roughly. And that gives a little bit of leeway for any kind of temperature fluctuations that could potentially impact the fish. Salinity can be anywhere from 1.022 to 1.026. Everybody pretty much recommends 1.025. That seems to be a good number for most people to keep track of. So, and as for lighting for a fish only tank, you could pretty much have whatever you want, whatever makes the fish look good. So a tank cable with an actinic is ideal. The actinic will bring out the color in the fish, and the tank is bright enough that it makes the tank pop. So that's a fish only aquarium. Now fish only with live rock aquarium is essentially, you can have the same fish as the previous tank setup. The only difference is instead of using a trickle filter for filtration, you're going to use live rock, a porous live rock like a Pucani or a Fiji. You could potentially use like a dry rock with marine pure blocks in the sump to aid in the biological filtration, since dry rock is so dense. But that's your call. You can do whatever you want with that. Lighting in general is the same concept as the first aquarium. I would recommend staying in the 10K range for the whites, and of course actinic blue, because you will grow algae if you stay below 10K. You're more prone to grow algae if you're sub 10K on your Kelvin, on your daylight bulbs. Also, again, temperature is about the same, between 77 and 80 degrees, and the salinity is roughly the same as well, 1.025. Alright, so let's move into a reef tank. So a reef tank in general needs to have more stable water parameters, depending on the type of reef tank that you have. So for a Softy tank, you can get away with a little bit more leeway on your maintenance of the Softy tank. I have noticed corals like pulsing zini and leather corals tend to like a dirtier tank. Essentially, they seem to be fuller and more active in a dirtier tank. I don't know why that is. It just seems to be something that I've noticed over the years with Softy corals. Now, for a soft coral tank in general, you want to keep the temperature stable. Try to keep it within 1 degree. So, for example, my tank I like to keep between 78.6 and 79.3. So I try to keep the fluctuation with the apex in between that temperature difference. And it really doesn't fluctuate outside of that. As for adding chemicals like calcium and alkalinity, it really isn't a necessity. If you do water changes every 2 weeks or every month, you can pretty much replenish your calcium alkalinity needs with a Softy tank by just doing the water changes. As for lighting, again, you want to have a 10K bulb with an actinic to encourage growth of the soft corals. And then this is the point where fish selection can change. So basically, there are certain fish that are prone to eat coral. I mean, angelfish are known to be coral eaters, butterfly fish. Now, I've known people who have had angelfish and butterfly fish who've never touched any corals, never ate any polyps, that were fine. And then I've known other people that got a butterfly fish and he wiped out his entire zoanthid bed. So all fish there are fish that are prone to doing damage to corals, but pretty much it's personality dependent on the fish that you get. Some people get lucky, some people get a shitty deal. So let's move on to an LPS, which is a large polyp stony coral. They are going to be your Duncans, your Philia species, your torches, stuff like that, Akins. Those are the kind of corals that you'd be in an LPS tank. Now this is a point where you're going to start needing to either increase your water changes or start dosing a two-part of some sort, because this coral will pull alkalinity and calcium out of the water a lot faster than a soft coral species. And the water parameters need to be a little bit cleaner as well, so your maintenance needs to be on par. You need to be able to do your bi-weekly water changes or do a weekly smaller percentage. You want to start testing your water once a week, your alkalinity, calcium, and magnesium to make sure they're in the correct range. Also make sure salinity stays within 1.025, 1.026. I personally keep mine at 1.026.2 if you want to be technical, and I have good growth with that. Let's see here. Let's move on to SPS. SPS tanks are essentially the goal of all reef enthusiasts at the end. Essentially you want to have an SPS tank. That's something that I found that was my goal from the beginning, but I don't recommend you jump into an SPS tank just because you're going to have casualties on the way. You're going to kill coral, and your tank isn't going to be, if you don't have the knowledge to take care of an SPS tank off the bat, I would not recommend just jumping into it. I suggest you start off slow with a Softy tank and move your way up and progress to an SPS tank over a period of time once you get a grasp of the hobby. Now, as for SPS water parameters, it's good to have a stable alkalinity, a stable calcium, and continuously dose a two-part solution on a daily basis to keep those levels where they need to be. Fluctuations in temperature and salinity need to be at a minimum, so have an auto top off and have an apex or something like that that can make sure that your temperature stays within that 0.5 degree to a degree range. Some people get away with bigger swings. I just never push it. I always keep it within 0.5 degree to a degree for that. So I'm actually going to my camera. Like I said before, it only does 8 minutes at a time, so we're going to stop the video and we're going to come back and continue this. Alright, so we're back. I had to restart the video there. So where were we? Oh yeah, so SPS essentially, you need your maintenance, your husbandry, and your water parameters need to be more stable. They need to be more consistent. There is a learning curve to the SPS, and it's not something that I recommend someone just starts out with. Anybody that I've introduced to the hobby that wanted to do reefing, that wanted to bypass the fish only and the fish only rely on rock, I always had them start off with a Softy tank. So I'd give them some pulsing zenies, some zoanthids, and tell them to have fun with that, get used to doing maintenance, get a schedule down, and grasp that knowledge before you move on to the LPS and the SPS tank. Alright, so let's move on to the last category, which is a mixed reef tank, which I currently run. Now this tank has everything, and it has the soft, the LPS, and the SPS, but the key to this is to run the tank as if it was only SPS. Now the only downfall I see to that is that leather corals and softy corals won't grow as fast, they won't be as plump and vibrant in a low nutrient tank such as an SPS. That's what I found in my experience. Now it could be different for yours, but I've never had luck with leathers and soft corals in this tank. It's always been really slow growth, which is fine because no one wants pulsing zeni to take over their whole tank. So that's just the way it is. Now for flow is another important thing for SPS tank. If you guys seen in my previous videos, I added the power heads, and the total, if I ran them all 4 of them max, not including the return pump, would be a little over 11,000 gallons per hour, which is pretty ridiculous, but it's better to have it than to need it and not have it. So flow is very important, and all that good stuff for SPS tank. Now when it comes to fish, you have to be a little bit more strict on what you select for fish for an SPS mixed reef tank. There are fish that you can get, like I have, that are reef safe with caution, like an eel, like the the snowflake eel that I have. He won't eat coral, but he will eat invertebrates, snails, crabs, stuff like that. So that's where that caution comes in. Now I personally wouldn't buy an angel fish for this tank, and I wouldn't buy a butterfly fish because I have invested a significant amount of time into building this tank the way it is, And even though those fish are beautiful, at this point I wouldn't risk it. Now, if you're just starting off and you only have a couple of colonies that are not really grown, and you really don't have a lot of time invested into the reef, you could try to get those fish to see how they do, what their personality's like, and if they start nipping at coral, you can put them in fish jail, or which is the sample, or you can give them to a friend or sell them or do whatever you want to do. But if you've already invested time in and you have a reef that's 6, 7, 8 months in, and you have that tank is doing well, I think it's too late to invest in something like an angel or a butterfly fish. Just because you like the way they look, it's probably not worth the risk. So that's it for video 1, guys. Now, I hope that I could provide some information. So those are the 3 types of tanks, and then the subcategories within the reef tank. Now, you can decide what you want to do. If you feel that you want to have a bunch of beautiful fish and you really don't want to worry about maintenance to a certain extent, you could go with a fish only, or fish only with live rock. I think that's a great alternative. It allows you to have tons of fish depending on the type of filtration that you choose. But other than that, if you're ready to reef, man, get into it. Start with some soft corals, get your hands dirty, learn water parameters, and take the time to learn how to be successful. The only thing that I find to be a pain in the ass that I see is when you go to the fish store and you have somebody who's staring at the saltwater section and naming the whole cast of Finding Nemo in the aquariums, but have no idea what they're going to do to take care of them, and then end up deciding to buy them just because they can, and the fish end up suffering, and coral end up dying, and believe it or not, coral are a living species, so are a living animal, so it's best to build the knowledge so you don't end up killing them. That's the kind of a nice thing to do. But there is a learning curve for everything, and if you're ready to jump into it, I say go ahead and get yourself the rock, get yourself the equipment, and get started. Alright, I appreciate you guys watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.